A tense yet reassuring week as President Tinubu insists Nigeria will defeat terrorism. And towards continuous inter-religion harmony, President consults religious leaders. Hello, welcome to Executive Recap, again to bring you highlights of activities around the top corridor of power in the country. I am Musba Dan Wahab. Thanks a lot for joining us on the network service of the NTA. It was another week of approval spree for infrastructural projects across the country at the 9th meeting of the Federal Executive Council, where the Council also approved the concessioning of the Port Harcourt International Airport. Here are the highlights of decisions taken during the meeting. After deliberations at the 9th meeting of the Council for the year, Information and National Orientation Minister Mohammed Idris picked up as the chairman for the briefing session.
But there is no any panic mode here. We are responding responsibly, steadily, and in the interest of our country, also, taking into account the concerns both from within and outside this country of what the situation in this.
Minister of Works announced Council's approval for 11 memos of 2 awards of contracts and 9 for review. The 9 existing contracts approved for review and continuation include sections of Old Enugu-Onitsha Road and the East-West Road, while the new contract awarded included Section 3 of the Sokoto-Badagry Superhighway.
The 2 started from the beginning of the route. This third section started from the end of the route. And that is from Badagry, which is in Lagos State, going to Ogun, and from Ogun to the border between Ogun and Oyo State. And the total kilometer is 162.97 kilometers. And it's awarded for 6 lanes and for use of reinforced concrete pavement for a contract cost of 3.39 billion per kilometer.
Similarly, FCT administration got approval for the ratification of construction of residences of heads of courts in the territory and the renovation of the International Conference Center, now Bola Ahmed Tinubu International Conference Center. It also secured approval for the contract of provision of water to satellite towns along Karu, Orozo-Karishi area, as well as the engineering-proof infrastructure project in Maitama 2.
Most people who have allocated that land before this administration, but no provision of infrastructure. So the President Council today approved that contract, and by the grace of God, this is one very ambitious project that the FCT is embarking upon. We believe, by the grace of God, we are going to give it all it requires to see that that district is opened.
The Council approved the exclusion of properties of the Federal Airport Authority in and around airports in the country from disposal to private individuals and the concessioning of the Port Harcourt International Airports.
We will concession the airports. Those are running at a loss. We cannot continue to waste government money. They will not lose their jobs. That's the message to the union. I repeat it again, no worker will lose his job as a result of the concession. Once they are comfortable with that, then I think they can go along with us in that respect. We sought approval of FEC to exclude properties owned by the Federal Airport Authority in and around the airports in the country from disposal to private individuals. There's one committee called Presidential Implementation Committee or so on government properties set up long ago by Obasanjo's government, where they sought to sell government properties to private individuals, maybe some of them on owner-occupier basis. But at that time, I think it was through presidential memo that they excluded certain properties at that time, having to do with security, safety and security. Now, it has been our problem at the airports where people come and say that because they were owner-occupiers, they will buy properties within the airports or around the airports, meant for example, very technical staff, maybe firefighting staff, AFSEC, navigational, people who we need at very short notice, because the airports are, they are environments where you have emergency, you can have emergency anytime. So you need all of those people to stay within government quarters inside the airports because of emergencies. But we have had a serious problem where many of them claim that they had bought these properties. And so you now have private individuals living within the airports, living within security and safety areas. But today, graciously, Mr. President said we should exclude all of those properties from disposal to private individuals. So I'm just making this public announcement to those who think they have bought, who purported to have bought. We will not give those properties to them. We will not, because we told them from the beginning that these properties were excluded originally, but they said they didn't see any memo to that effect. Now there's a memo to that effect. We will not concede any of such properties within the airports or around the airports to any private individual.
There are now approvals for the establishment of tourism and cultural economic zones and the adoption of tourism brands across the country, including the emerging Dirty December in Lagos.
For Dirty December, we have asked the President to establish a presidential task force on Dirty December that will allow all the different interdependencies that we need, the different MDAs, aviation, interior, power, that we need to ensure that we provide the international community with a destination for Dirty December, and of course provide the support that Lagos State needs from the federal government, so that we can really maximize on the potential of Dirty December and other festivals around the country, and also to build it as a global brand. And that's a really important one, because we know that the private sector will also get involved. The third that was approved was the establishment of the Presidential Council on Tourism Promotion and Investment. This is a restructured and reactivated version of the Presidential Council of Tourism that was first established in 2023. It's very important because, like I mentioned earlier on, when it comes to tourism, it's not only the Ministry of Tourism, it relies on a number of interdependencies in order for us to deliver tourism brand. So this specific council will allow us to really build Nigeria's positive global image, especially at this extremely crucial time when Nigeria must stand and show the world our unity, our peaceful coexistence, and a stability to the global community.
Meanwhile, about 2 weeks following the provocative U.S. threat of military incursion into Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu has reassured that his administration is taking necessary steps to ensure that Nigeria defeats terrorism and other forms of insecurity in Nigeria. The president gave the assurance during the meeting of the Federal Executive Council. The Federal Executive Council meeting came to order to fill the hitherto ministerial vacancies created in the Council. Following their nomination and screening by the National Assembly, 2 new ministers-designate were primed for inauguration. Bernard Doro from Plateau State replaces former Humanitarian Affairs Minister Nentawe Yiwada, who is now the APC National Chairman. And Kingsley Ude, a former commissioner from Enugu State, is taking the slot of Enugu to replace the former Minister of Science and Technology, Uche Naji, who resigned recently.
Of my duties as minister, so help me God.
Then, in an unusual circumstance, came the usual assertive voice.
The most important thing is
President Bola Tinubu would for the first time react to the current situation occasioned by the threats of military incursion by the U.S.
Despite the political headwind and the fear of our people, we continue to engage with our partners. The success of the 2.3 billion bond, our subscription, oversubscribed, is the most at this stage. So the task ahead is immense. We are engaging the world diplomatically And we assure all of you that we will, defeat terrorism in this country. The task ahead is immense, but it's our resolve to move forward with unity and purpose, guided by renewed hope agenda to build a prosperous, inclusive, and resilient Nigeria.
The President also yielded the floor to the Coordinating Minister of Finance and Economy, Wale Edu. The Coordinating Minister gave updates of economic progress, including the growth of GDP by 4.2% in the second quarter of 2025, growth of 13 major sectors by 7%, growth of industrial sector from 3.72% to 7.45%, foreign exchange reserves topped $43 billion, while trade surplus hit 7.4 trillion naira.
Nigeria's removal from the Financial Action Task Force Grey List, FATF Grey List, marks a major milestone in strengthening our financial integrity and confidence. At the recent World Bank IMF annual meetings, global leaders commended our reforms. Our progress and the revised IMF growth forecast of up to nearly 4% and improved credit ratings. A key takeaway is the urgency to mobilize domestic resources and provide investment to finance infrastructure and, all importantly, job-rich growth. Yesterday's hugely successful 2.35 billion euro bond issuance, in which the order book peaked at over $13 billion, is a testament to continued investor confidence in our country and our reform agenda and Mr. President's leadership, despite the political headwinds which we are all aware of. The market shrugged off those political considerations and focused on the economic fundamentals of Nigeria. Sir, we remain committed to your vision of a 1 trillion naira economy by 2030. But to achieve this, we must accelerate output to 7% per annum growth by 2027, not just as an economic target, but as a moral imperative to end poverty. Critical to attaining this growth trajectory will be attracting a necessary investment into our economy. With public investment at only 5% of GDP, we must urgently develop investment-ready projects across so many sectors that will crowd in large-scale domestic and external capital, direct investment in the economy by Nigerians as well as by foreigners. Ministers overseeing key sectors, for example, infrastructure, mining, education, health, agriculture, blue economy, digital innovation, arts and culture, must work with the subnational governments, the states, to identify and package projects that meet investor expectations. And it is likely under the policy coordination mandate, I'm sure that maybe the volume and the quality of private investment mobilized will become a key metric of the leadership, particularly in those areas.
He assures of sectoral commitments to the $1 trillion economy envisioned by the government as they prepare for the next phase of the reforms.
The next phase of reforms will remove barriers holding back investors. We will review tariffs and import restrictions to stimulate productivity and investment.
The minister believes every naira must be optimized to sustain momentum amid global liquidity constraints, while the government continues to harness local resources to strengthen the economy. Earlier, President Bola Tinubu called for calm among Nigerians, assuring that his government is taking concrete steps towards ensuring better security of lives and properties of all citizens and residents in the country. The President conveyed this message through the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, and the Presidential Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, who met with him in the State House. During the meeting, Information Minister disclosed that the issue of a U.S. government threat of military action in Nigeria came up. The minister assured that the government was already ahead with steps to record greater results in the fight against insecurity.
Of course, the issue of the U.S. threat also came up, and we discussed that extensively with Mr. President. Mr. President is calm, is looking at the whole situation, and is looking at ways and means of ensuring that the international community understands what Nigeria has been doing. Only last week or 2 weeks ago, Mr. President, in his own desire to rekindle the security architecture of the country, reinvigorated the hierarchy of the armed forces. A new chief of defense staff and other service chiefs were appointed. Now, this is all all the issues that came out of the United States. So that tells you that Mr. President has been working assiduously to ensure that Nigeria is a country that remains safer for all Nigerians to live in. We're looking at all the issues, and we don't want to overheat the discussions, but work is ongoing, and we're also opened channels of communication so that the international community will understand what Nigeria has been doing better, and also what we intend to further do to ensure that whatever concerns there are, either domestically here or from the international community, are answered.
Right. Honorable Minister, you said some steps have been taken, going by what you have just said. Nigerians have been suggesting so many things, including having a dialogue with the religious bodies and all of that, diplomatic means. What precisely is the government doing in this regard?
Well, it's a multiple approach. You know that discussions with the leadership of the religious groups is an ongoing effort. Mr. President has been meeting with them, and of course he will continue to do that. They're all Nigerians, and he is leading them, and so they're of course an important stakeholder in the Nigerian project. So yes, Mr. President will continue to engage with them. Mr. President will continue to engage with the international community, not just the United States, everyone, the regional bodies, the continental bodies, and everyone that we think has a role to play in ensuring that Nigeria succeeds in ridding this country of these criminal elements that are helping the world to drive this narrative so that Nigeria will have a very bad name. And we know that this is not who we are as a country. So for us to be characterized as a country that is not tolerant when it comes to religion is not accurate. This is absolutely false. Nigeria has Muslim and Christian and even those who do not believe in any of these religions. And our constitution guarantees that everyone should practice his faith without let or hindrance. And Mr. President is going to respect that to the letter. So again, yes, we have these security challenges, but nowhere has there been any decision to favor one religion or the other, or to inflict violence, over one religion. What has happened is that we have these extremists that are driving this narrative, and the desired outcome for them is to see that this country is divided, and we want to caution Nigerians to look deeper. This is a time for us to reflect on our nationhood, to reflect on our unity, to come together. This is not the time for division. It's not a time for rhetoric. It's not a time for politics. It is a time for nation building, the time for calling for everyone, to come together so that we can continue to have the Nigeria of our dream. Mr. President is calm. He's taking this, of course, very seriously. All those that should look at these issues are looking at them with all the responsibility and the depth that it requires, so that at the end of the day, we will come out of this. We believe that we will come out of this very strongly.
And during the week, President Bola Tinubu received the Archbishop of Abuja Catholic Diocese, Most Reverend Ignatius Kaigama in the State House. The meeting between the president and the religious leader, an interpersonal consultation, lasted about 40 minutes behind closed doors. Although details of the meeting were not made public, the consultation came at a time some quarters are alleging religious persecution in the country. President Tinubu has at different fora affirmed his government respect for the constitution, which guarantees rights of every Nigerian to choose and practice any religion freely. Similarly, President Tinubu received the Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Sahad Abubakar III. The Sultan, who is also the President General of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, met the President of the State House. The meeting was equally a private one between the President and the religious leader, as the details were not made public. These consultations follow the purported religious persecution in Nigeria. The Sultan earlier joined the Jummah prayer in the State House, where the Imam, Alhaji Abdul Wahid Suleiman Abubakar, admonished the faithful to continue to support government efforts aimed at ensuring peace and security in the country. He described peace as part of a prerequisite for individual and general development of a society. And before the week ran out, President Tinubu received in audience his counterpart from Sierra Leone, Julius Maada Bio. President Maada Bio arrived at the State House Friday night.
I'm okay. Welcome to Abuja.
Details of the meeting, which lasted about an hour, were not disclosed. The visitor succeeded President Bola Tinubu as the chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of States and Governments. However, the visiting president had announced on his official X page his arrival in Abuja to speak at a private university's convocation and to discuss with top African business leaders in Nigeria. And that has been the executive recap on the network service of the NTA for the week. Thank you so much for being part of it. Another week is here, and we'll wait to see what it holds for the president and its subordinates. I'm Musbad and Wahab. Thank you, and God bless Nigeria.